Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I wanted to chat about No Rest for the Wicked. I just finished my playthrough. It took me about 40 hours. I played majority of it in the new co-op mode that just released on January 22nd. I played along with my two brothers, and again, I think we had a really great time. I kind of want to share a little bit about No Rest for the Wicked, talk about some of the things I liked, some of the things I think can improve over time. I also do want to emphasize that No Rest for the Wicked is still very much in an early access phase. So very much going into this, I knew that, again, I might not be playing a fully finished product. So let's just dive into it and we'll take it from there. First, to start off, if you're unfamiliar with No Rest for the Wicked, it is a Souls-like action RPG game. It takes place in an open world. If you played games like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or anything along those lines, I mean, they're coming out very consistently with these types of games. You should be pretty familiar with the format. Just like other Souls games, you're really going to spend a lot of your time focusing on what you want your build to look like and how you want your playstyle to feel. The way you're going to do this is first by focusing on where you're investing your attribute points. There is a total of 30 levels. Every level that you receive, you get 3 attribute points that you can put into the standard attributes. Things like health, stamina, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, as well as focus, which is essentially mana. Allows you to cast different spells or runes as they call them. And then finally, equipment load, which determines the overall weight of your character. There's 3 different weight classes. There's light, medium, and heavy. Those different weight classes come with different dodges. So there's a very quick, snappy, you're on your feet the entire time type of dodge for the light class. There is a roll for the medium class, and then the heavy class has more of a fat roll. Very slow, very sluggish, but it also does come with a shoulder charge, which really does come in handy. A lot of my playthrough was in that heavyweight class. Really, the idea I was going for is more of a tanky character. I definitely changed up my build multiple times, but all in all, I think, that's where I kind of floated around majority of the time. The next main thing that you're going to be focusing on throughout as you're creating your build is, of course, the gear that you're going to be wearing. You have a main hand. You can think of things like one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, wands, staffs, bows, daggers. There's really a large plethora of weapons in this game, which was pretty surprising to me. I really enjoyed the depth of the different types of weapons, as well as the different move sets that each weapon came with. You also get weapon runes that slot into these. You can have a total of 4. The other thing to call out is you do get utility runes, things like heals. You can get a recall to town. I actually was able to find a blink. So there are some cool options that could really help you when it comes to build diversity. But from there, outside of the main hand, you do have an offhand. Primarily, this is for shields as well as quivers if you're using a bow or you're going more of a dexterity build. What's super cool about this game is no matter what attribute set that you determine you want to use, you could pretty much use any weapon that goes along with that. So for example, there's bows that have you would think that it would specifically be dexterity, but there's bows that focus specifically on faith or intellect. So again, there's no extremes. You're not going to be having a strength staff or something like that, but there are a lot of crossovers in some of the weapon types, which allows for some interesting gameplay, getting away from like the traditional role of like a strength character needs to use a sword and shield or a two-handed weapon. Like they can use a little bit more than that. So again, it was super interesting seeing that piece. With that said, though, outside of the main hand and offhand, you do have helmet, a chest plate, leggings, as well as gloves. There's also a ring slot. Now, you start with 1 ring slot, but as you go throughout the game, you can get additional ring slots up to a total of 3. As you get into the main town, which is called Sacrament, there's merchants that you have access to. So these merchants are pretty straightforward. There's a blacksmith who's a weapons merchant. There's these 2 ladies who sell all of the armor, whether it's cloth, leather, mesh, or plate. There is more of a carpenter who really deals with wood. You can find things like bows. There's another merchant who focuses on runes or the spells that you use throughout the game. She has also staffs and things along those lines. So This is really where you're spending a bulk of your time as you're focusing on your build. There's another NPC that helps you improve all of these other merchants over time. The other thing that I'll mention is there's a housing system, and then you could start getting the recipes, or the blueprints I should say, for these different crafting benches, these refining as well as storage, and you can start putting that in your home. So instead of having to go around to different traders or different merchants, you can again have one hub, and I'm super excited to see them expand on that as well. From a gameplay standpoint, the game really consists of doing your standard main quests as well as your side quests. You also have the ability to do dailies and weeklies. Those come in the form of bounties and challenges. Bounties are pretty straightforward. It tells you to go find this target and kill them. You get rewards once you return that back in. The one thing to highlight is in co-op, it really is only one quest reward, so whoever turns in the quest ultimately gets those rewards. Outside of the bounties, there are challenges. These are more along the lines of go fishing 20 times or farm an ore node 15 times. A little more kind of things that are going to happen automatically, less kind of going and focusing on it, if that makes sense. Of course, you definitely can, but it's a little bit more happening in the back end. The nice part about this system as a whole with the dailies or weeklies is throughout the entire game, you're traveling back and forth between different areas of the map. The very starter area you might go back to multiple times. Maybe there's a bounty there. Maybe you need to collect resources that you missed. So there's a lot of kind of replayability in some of the zones. As you progress and as you kill different bosses, or I should say main quest bosses, the zone increases in level as well, and with that, difficulty. So for example, the first zone that you start in, I believe it's difficulty level 3. Once you kill the first boss, it goes up to about 7 or 11, somewhere around those lines. So it's nice that as you progress throughout the game, you're not necessarily stuck in one specific area. You can go back to other areas. The last piece I wanted to speak to is the endgame and the two different components of the endgame as of now. The two pieces are the Outbreak as well as the Crucible. So the Outbreak is essentially a way to modify zones to make them harder and drop a specific resource that you can then go use to exalt items. The last piece from there is the Crucible. The Crucible is a roguelite dungeon that you're able to go into with your current build. You fight through 10 different floors. Each floor you just need to wipe all of the enemies or kill all of the enemies. And as you're killing those enemies, you're collecting resources. You spend those resources on echoes. Echoes are the improvements from the roguelite standpoint. Things like additional health, additional damage, maybe more elemental damage. There are multiple echoes that you could take advantage of depending on kind of how you want your specific build to play on that playthrough for the Crucible. As you get to the end, you do fight off on a boss. This boss drops generally legendary loot from what I could tell. These are yellow items, some of the strongest in the game. You also get access to a final kind of treasure room where you can loot one of the larger chests that kind of, again, give some of those more quality, high-end, endgame type items. And with that said, wanted to wrap things up, wanted to keep things fairly short for today's video. Hopefully that gave you a good overview of No Rest for the Wicked, some of the experience I had, some of the things potentially to look forward to in the future. If you liked the video, please feel free to like, subscribe, as well as leave a comment. Hopefully you tune in next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.